It's Platt, and today we try another beer from Iron Maiden. That's next to Platt's Beer of the Week. So today, the particular beer we have today is Hellcat Trooper, actually. Comes to us as a collaboration from Iron Maiden and the brewery Brewdog Brewing. We have tried a Iron Maiden beer before. We did the original Trooper, which was a collaboration with Robinson Brewing in Great Britain and Iron Maiden. Apparently, Bruce Dickinson, the lead singer of Iron Maiden, is quite the beer fan. He supposedly was a keynote speaker at the Brewers Association a couple years back, and he's done a couple more projects with Robinson, and he was wanting to do something, I guess, more based for the American market. So that's why he collaborated with Brewdog. Now, oddly enough, Brewdog, as we'll discuss, is based out of Scotland, but they have operations here. Real quick, let's go into Brewdog and their background. Brewdog was founded in 2007 by James Watt and Martin Dickey in Scotland. They claim on their website to be the #1 craft brewer in Europe. I don't know if they maintain those kind of hard stats. I haven't seen anything online about it, but that's their claim. Anyway, 2009 was probably the first big step for Brewdogs. They bought their first pub in Aberdeen. We've talked about this with some of the other videos that in Great Britain they allow brewers to also own pubs. So it'd be like here in the U.S. if Anheuser-Busch had their own line of sports bars or something. Today they have roughly 133 such pubs all over the world, including here in the U.S. Besides those pubs, they also have 5 beer-themed hotels, including 2 here in the U.S., both in Ohio. You may have seen some of the photos. They have the big, giant showers that have the little fridge, so you can have your shower beer. That's so hip now, even though I was doing it 30 years ago. And they just called me a drunk back then. But anyway, you can have like a real nice shower beer now, and they have taps in the room. It's a cool thing. Check it out online if you can. Later that year, they also introduced Tactical Nuclear Penguin. That, at the time, was the highest ABV beer produced, and probably, at that point, highest ABV beer ever. 32% alcohol by volume. This kind of started not to excuse the pun, a nuclear arms race with a brewery in Germany on who had the highest kind of ABV. They would go back and forth. By the end of 2009, Brewdogs had lost the title. They came out in 2010 with something called Sink the Bismarck, which is 41% alcohol by volume. Then the German brewery came back, topped them. They eventually came back with something called The End of History, a 55% alcohol by volume beer. How they achieve those high ABVs is through freeze distillation. That's how that happens. In 2010, another thing that really set Brewdogs apart was they went into the equity crowdfunding market to help fund expansion. At the time, equity crowdfunding was really a new thing, and they sold about roughly 8% of the company at the time. I believe now it's like 25% of the company is owned by the equity crowdfunding partners. You're not a straight stockholder in the sense that you can't buy and sell stocks like you could, for Budweiser, Molson Coors, or stock like that. But you still are a partner, and it was a way to let the quote-unquote common man in on the gag. So that was kind of a cool story. In 2013, the first episodes of a show they did on Esquire Magazine's television network, they did a show, James and Martin, where they would go to different cities across mainly the U.S., where they'd go to Boston and brew a Boston-themed beer, or Portland. They brewed beer on a boat and a train, and just brewed random beers in random places. Kind of a fun little show. Esquire Network shut down, so there's no more of that. 2014, the company moved operations to Fallon, Scotland, where they are still headquartered today. 2016, they did something really cool. They open sourced their beer recipes. Yeah, something you definitely would not get. Most companies won't give you the 11 herbs and spices, but Brewdog did, and as a home brewer, I think that's just a really cool concept. And finally, in 2020, they did something a little head scratcher, and this was pre-pandemic. This was in January. They opened the first alcohol-free bar in London. Huh? What? You can't win them all, I guess. Finally, let's talk about a couple of their other beers. First is Punk IPA, 7.5% ABV, classic West Coast IPA. This is their flagship beer. When you're making crazy beers that are 30, 40, 50% alcohol by volume, you're not going to move a lot of that product. You need something in the pubs for people to drink, and that is Punk IPA for them. Next is Fellowship IPA, 5% ABV. They classify this as an Imperial IPA at 5%. I'm not sure about that, but all right, we'll go with it. This beer is a collaboration with the movie Lord of the Rings, so if you're a fan of the movie, you've got your beer now. And then finally, they have a beer called Cold Beer. Simple label, 12-ounce cans. What a concept. 4.7% ABV. It's a blonde ale. Again, cold beer. Great concept. Well, before we try this particular cold beer, though, let's check out the stats. Okay, before we try this beer from Brewdogs, I do want to touch on the controversial side of Brewdogs before anybody puts any comments in here. Again, a brewery that's really expanded. They've grown the company. They've done some really cool dynamic things, but there's also some downside to them. And in some circles in the brewing industry, they've got a little bit of a controversial name. First and foremost is apparently in just my research, just for this video and a couple other things, there's something called the Portman Group over in Great Britain. It's like an industry regulatory group, watchdog kind of thing. I'm not sure what kind of actual power they have, but apparently ever since the brewery started, they've been butting heads. If you've watched the TV show where we tell these guys are kind of go-getters, and the Portman Group's really been on how they marketed the alcohol, got to save the kids, all that kind of stuff. One of the first incidents was in 2008, they released a beer called Speedball, which is obviously a drug reference, and they were forced to pull the product until they changed the name, but it was just that kind of stuff back and forth. They got a lot of grief for their higher ABV beers. Again, we don't want the children, getting hurt. Another incident was when they released The End of History. It being so high ABV, you're not doing 6-packs or 12-packs, you're selling individual beers. Apparently, they put the beers in like a stuffed animal, or the beer would kind of, be hidden in a stuffed animal. And they got pushback, obviously, because, well, the kids will think it's a toy. And they also got pushback from the animal rights people. I'm not sure what that's all about, but they're going to do what they do, so what have you. A little closer today, or more current, in 2021, a group of about 100 employees wrote kind of an open letter in the newspapers about the rough work environment. The management was a little too aggressive. I know BBC earlier this year supposedly did kind of a follow-up expose on the same thing. Just an outside observer, what little I know of the guys. I've seen some interviews. I've watched, their show a little bit. They do seem like hard chargers or younger guys. We're going to change the world. We're going to, go, go, go. I could see where that definitely rubs some people the wrong way. I do find the whole high ABV beer thing kind of silly. I could buy scotch or whiskey anywhere, probably in any bar around there. Why am I worried about a beer with the same ABV? I mean, I'm not too sure, but kind of just convinces me we have Karens all over the place, and we all lose with Karens. So, but anyway, I just want to let you know, I've read some of that stuff and wanted to just touch on that, and not say that I didn't see the downside of that. Well, enough about that. Let's drink a cold beer. I'm already picking up a lot of hops just right now on the nose, just from here. I haven't even stuck my snout in, and I can get plenty of hops. All right. A little bit of haze, nice thick foamy head. Oh yeah, plenty of hops, really bright, citrusy, your kind of classic West Coast. kind of take on this. Again, probably also a stylistic difference from Robinson Brewing. If if Iron Maiden, if Bruce was wanting to do more of an American IPA, I'd definitely pick it up on the nose. Let's give it a try. Oh, that's nice. Very nice, easy drinking. I've got the malt up front. I've got the hops in the back. Again, they're pleasant, citrusy, classic West Coast hops. A little piney. This is still a easy drinking beer. Medium body. Finish. The hops linger a little bit on the palate, but it's not a long finish. Easy drinker, plenty of carbonation. Just nice, well executed IPA. Nothing spectacular here, but a very drinkable beer. Again, compared to something that would be 55%. I'm not sure what Bruce and Brewdogs were wanting to hit with this beer, but they just came up with a pretty nice, well executed beer. Well, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please subscribe down below. Also, please like the video because it lets YouTube know we're putting out good content. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or beers that you'd like me to try, please leave them in the comment section, or you can always contact me on the Twitter page. Till next time, bottoms up.